Hello again from the infinite tunnel of open broadcasting software. And has it really been a month since the last Evolvio video? Wait, hold on. Yeah, it says 1 month here. So it has. Oh my gosh, shut up. Yeah, so I feel like another video is just about due. So let's do that now. But before that, I just want to say, I recently discovered that I gained 1,000 new subscribers from this Reddit post of my evolution simulator, which is really cool. So this video is dedicated to you new people. But some people said that my voice sounded really strange, and I kinda agree. But remember that that video was over a year ago, and back then, my only experience with actual voice acting was this.
OMG, I know it's so, hard, but you've got to keep, going. You've got to win this for, the both of us. You murdered.
Anyway, the point is, I just didn't know how to talk to a microphone very well, and I still don't, although I hope I'm getting better. Anyway, that's not the central point of this video. You came here to see Evolvio, so let's do that. By the way, it's been so long since the last Evolvio update that I decided to save it as a new file, Evolvio color. Oh my gosh, the map looks totally different. What's going on, Carrie? Well, here's the answer. So when I was watching my old Evolvio videos, I didn't really like how I had arbitrary colors for the soil, the land, and the water. I mean, we humans, who are used to how Earth's grass, land, and water look, would think it looks normal, but it's really arbitrary. I wanted vision and just colors in general to have a little bit more meaning in Evolvio, so I completely changed the coloring system. So this is how it now works. We're no longer using RGB anymore. We're now using HSL, or HSB, I don't really know the difference. Ake? Are you serious? It's named Ake? Anyway, that means that the 3 ways to define a color are by hue, saturation, and lightness, or brightness. Water, I made pitch black since it's kinda useless for the creatures. And then land, well first of all, let me just kill off all the vegetation so it's a bit clearer. The land is pitch white, that does not make sense, if it's completely infertile, and it becomes grayer and grayer the more fertile it is. So it's a very clear indicator of how quickly vegetation will grow on that tile. And now here's the big game changer. There are now different types of food, and that's defined by the food's color. So in addition to whether land can be fertile or not fertile, there's also what I like to call climate. And the climate determines what color of food naturally grows on that tile. So right now there's no growth because I killed off all the vegetation, but if I let it all grow back, you'll start to see the vegetation like you saw before. With this system, we can have red grass, orange grass, yellow grass, green grass, blue grass, hoi hoi bluegrass, and purple grass. And this really wouldn't work with the old RGB system because, well, first of all, water was already blue, so you get complications with oh, is that water or is that blue grass? I can't tell. This way, it's completely certain when you're looking at a color that you know what that land is like. The other big update is that creatures no longer have that dumb-looking arrow on their bodies. I mean, what are they, Aang from Avatar? That's just stupid. I'm just kidding, The Last Airbender is a really good show. But anyway, they now have a mouth, which shows the color of the food they like to eat. So you can see this creature likes to eat red food. You might be wondering, why does it matter what a creature likes to eat or not? I mean, this is survival of the fittest. Your personal preference over what dish you like the best isn't really important when you're just trying to survive. But here's the deal, let's look at this creature, Cello. Cello likes to eat purple food, as you can see. So if you take Cello over to purple food, am I gonna make it? I think I'm gonna make it, okay. And press space to eat. Just like normal, Cello just gobbles it up and he grows. However, wait, first of all, let me just get myself a little bigger. However, if you're over food that's very different from what you like to eat, like here, eating actually hurts you. It's like a human eating grass. That's actually not compatible, and the blades of grass will start to really rip up your stomach because your body just isn't designed to digest that stuff. And so we have creatures that are maybe more realistic, but definitely more picky. So hopefully what happens is that creatures evolve more regionally, and we have different groups of species in different locations because they eat different foods. Oh, and one other big change to the map is that I have the southern part of the map have very large land masses and low resolution coasts. You can see down here, they're all quite big. And then in the northern hemisphere, it's all very small, fine detail stuff. I think that's interesting because as a creature, you'd want to act slightly differently in those two different types of locations. So maybe we'll get different species that way as well. And then there's one more thing I want to mention, and that's what happens with dead bodies. But before I get to that, I have to talk about these new tiles. So before, when you roll over a tile, it only has one piece of information: how many yums are currently contained on that tile. And that just means how much food there is to eat. But now there's 3 stats. There's yums, like normal, then there's climate and food. Those both pretty much tell you the hue of the food on that tile, you know, and so you can compare it with a creature to see how close it is. But then what's the difference between climate and food if they're the same? Well, let's see what happens when a creature dies. So let's take Som here. If Som is on top of Greenland, you can see Som's body is dark blue, and then I'm just gonna vomit to die. You can see that Som's dark blue color, the remains actually fell onto the ground, so now this tile is bluer. So in that case, the climate of that tile is still 0.32, which also means that if grass is continuing to grow on this tile, it'll continue growing as 0.32. But the overall food average is 0.54 because the creature, his remains are, you know, that's the food, and it's a different color. A good analogy of this is like mixing paint in a paint bucket, because the whole tile just stays the same color so that I can save space and stuff. But you can still add in other colors and see the effect. Obviously, the more biomass you drop into a tile, the bigger effect you'll have on the color change of that tile. So for example, Hassav had a big effect on that tile because an entire body is a lot of biomass, but nothing will ever change the climate of that tile. One more change you might have noticed is that creatures now have 2 lines of vision instead of just 1. In actuality, it actually has 3 lines of vision. There's one directly underneath its body. And I made it so that creatures could not change their line of sight, just to simplify things. I also removed a lot of other unnecessary things from the brain because I just felt like creatures were being given too many things and not using any of them. So now all I have for inputs are the 3 colors of the 3 visions, which are 0 for the very center, 1 for the one on the left, and 2 for the one on the right, I think. I might have gotten that flipped, I don't know. And then size, and then memory, and that's it. Because really, what else do you need? I mean, humans mainly rely on vision for everything, so that should be good enough for these creatures. Oh shoot, I forgot. I can't eat that. I could change my mouth by pressing I or K. See, I can change my mouth, and so can the creatures, because on the output, there's B hue for changing your body hue, and M hue for changing your mouth hue. And then there's all the others: acceleration, turn, eat, fight, birth. You can also see how funny the creature is. This creature is very not funny, negative 0.9. Probably the only jokes it knows how to tell are puns or something. And then it's not very popular. Actually, it's very unpopular. That's probably why there's no nearby creatures. They all ran away. But it's very generous, so that's really nice. You know, being generous is more important than having a ton of friends. And of course, there's memory and constant as well. But the point is, I wanted to simplify the brain so that any advancement the creatures could discover could happen a lot faster, since there's fewer options to try. And also, I could make the brain bigger so you can actually see it in the YouTube video even after compression. But what that means is creatures can no longer choose what direction they look in. But I mean, I don't really care. They have 3 options to get their info from, and they can turn around. And besides, there are real-life animals like deer who have eyes on the side of their head, so they can't really choose which direction they look anyway, and they're fine. Also, I fixed the bug where the vision lines were occasionally 1 frame delayed behind the creature, which was really annoying. Now they're all on the same frame and they're rigid solid, which makes it look really nice. But anyway, I still haven't shown you the main course of this video, which is the actual evolution. So here we go. We're turning off keyboard control, which is me, and turning on neural networks. So here we go. And to be honest, that's a ton of dead bodies. Okay, whatever. To be honest, I have not run this simulation with the new colors and the new brains and all that for more than like 1 year. I'm expecting a lot more rapid deaths this time because not only do creatures need to find food to eat and eat it to survive for a long time, they also need to find food that's similar in color to their mouth, which is like less than a third or something. So that just limits the range of possible actions that lead to survival by like 3 times. So right off the bat, we're gonna get a lot more deaths. And you can kind of tell where all the deaths are because naturally the land should look very smooth. You know, color gradients everywhere showing where the natural land is. So whenever you see a speck of some really dark, out of place color, That's because the creature died there. Even after all this time, the population has not left the bare minimum of 60. Oh, by the way, for those who forgot, if the population ever drops below 60 due to deaths, the computer will automatically randomly produce a creature at a random location so that the population stays at 60. But if the creatures become fit enough to reproduce on their own above 60, then the computer no longer has to do that, and that's my goal. So it looks like we have one clear winner in terms of age and size. It's Sone. Wait, hold on. Oh no, there's a bigger one. Trasteel. Trasteel. Yeah, well, that's what I expected. All the early creatures are going to do the best by just going in a small circle. Especially now, because if you venture out, you're likely to find swaths of food that you just can't eat, that'll actually hurt you, so you really want to stay in place. Since it takes no energy to change your mouth color, technically a really smart creature should be able to eat all types of land, but that's going to take some time. Oh wow, Otjero's quite big, but... Oh god, oh god. That was food poisoning right there. Oh no, Otjero just died. Some of these names are kind of nice. There's Ania, who's gonna die. Oh wait, I just remember two more minor changes. One of them is creatures can no longer change their saturation or brightness. They can only change their hue, because I figured, like, why give them so many options? It's just overwhelming. And the second one... Uh-oh, that name is not quite so nice. Oh, whoa, that was some more unwanted pregnancy. So I just restarted the simulation, and then I ran it for 27 years. We can see there's a few periods in time when the population actually jumped above 60 for a little bit, but none of them were long-lasting. However, I did find a pretty stable community right here in the southern region, and you can tell that they're eating quite healthily because the land looks quite gray, which means that the food is missing, which means that creatures just recently ate it. So that's kind of a good sign. And I guess it's not surprising that they decided to flock towards the southern region, because the northern region is just too chaotic to have those stable circles. Creatures are still dying, and you can also see those creatures dying a lot by clicking youngest, because every time a creature dies and it goes below 60, a new creature is going to be born, and like, look at that, there's so many of them. Like 16,000, I think? Oh, look at that, we got our first major breakthrough. I don't know what the cause was, but I can see it's these guys and these guys. Oh, there's a bug, look at that. Highlighting the neurons is not so great. I'm not really sure what complex behaviors I'm looking for, but I feel like there are more options for cool stuff to do in this world where there's another dimension of stuff. Color. So I don't really know how to categorize these creatures into species, but I would say like these guys up here and these guys are probably related, and so are these. But like there's a pretty healthy population on these three land masses, and then there's this one over here with just one creature, Jikafo, and there's so much food ready to be eaten. So I think it's just this one strait that is blocking off these creatures from this treasure. However, like, so many primordial creatures died here with their different colored flesh that most of it's gonna be toxic, so maybe that's one reason why it's so hard to advance into new territory. I was kind of worried about that, about random creatures producing these toxins, these random toxins on the ground that these populations are just gonna have to deal with. To be honest, I think there's gonna be, like, there's few enough of them, there's Jikafo, that you just can ignore them and be fine. But I think a creature would be better off if it could say, hey look, my mouth is blue, but the food I'm on right now is red, I'd better turn around really quickly. However, that might be really complicated, so I don't know. We can also sort by highest gen to see that the most complex family tree has 42 levels. That's quite a lot, more than one per year. But 42 is definitely not enough to see real evolution, especially in the real world, where you'd probably need like millions. Hey, look at that, what's going on here, look at that. It looks like it's changing its behavior based on its vision, but it died. So obviously that wasn't a good rule, but that means, oh, what is going on there? Get away from each other. But that means conditional behavior is possible, they just need to find the right ways of doing it. Oh, look at this tiny island, it looks like someone died here. It looks like a Reaktor here has developed a water avoiding technique, though it doesn't seem to be quite as effective as it could be. Actually, it's not bad. Okay, now it's bad. I'm guessing all the creatures have some variant of it that helps them avoid water. Like, it was very clear with Emirihu just there. So, because it's getting late and I want to get this video out today, I probably won't have this running for that much longer. So some of the major achievements of the creatures of this simulation is that they got the carrying capacity of this whole land from under 100 to consistently over 200, which is a pretty cool doubling. And the second thing is they have a pretty good water avoiding technique. Let's take a look. Well, it's not that good, I guess. To be honest, I think the major change that'll make the difference between a successful evolution simulator and one that's not is just a factor of time. I need to have this running for a long time. And right now it's not that efficient. Even though I have optimized some stuff, it's still a lot slower than it could be. And at its maximum speed, I can maybe get like 10,000 generations a night. I mean 10,000 years a night, which is not quite enough. So here are a few changes I'm going to make before the next video. One is make it so that tiles that are not directly affected by anything, like these guys over here, are not going to calculate their number of yums every single frame. They can kind of just go to sleep until some activity wakes them up, and using calculus I can calculate how many yums should have been grown in that time so that when they wake up they can say, oh yeah, I have this many yums. That's going to speed up things a ton because you can see there's 10,000 tiles and there's only 225 creatures, so clearly the tiles are where the majority of the calculations are happening. And besides, many of the calculations are like so similar and repetitive, why do them over and over every single frame? So that's one change. Another change is I'm gonna make land in general bigger. That's not gonna slow anything down, I don't think, but it's just like these creatures can barely make any use of a single tile, which means that these like tiny islands are useless. Also, I feel like fields of one color are not big enough to fully contain a species. So yeah, bigger fields of land so that like the green region can actually be seen as like a continent that species live on. And the third thing, which is really big, is I'm probably going to release my source code for Evolvio soon. I mean, the big change I wanted to make before releasing it was the complete color overhaul, which I've done. But now that I think about it, I also want to add that optimizing tile yum calculation in there as well before I publish it. Well, not publish, but just release it to everyone else, so that no one else has to deal with this terribly slow frame rate when you go up to 64 play speed. I mean, I'm just thinking about how much faster it could be if I implemented that. It could be like 10 times faster, because that would be crazy. I mean, it might only be like twice as fast if it turns out that the creatures are actually the majority of the computation time, but there's going to be an improvement regardless, so I'm going to do that. So see you next time when these creatures will hopefully have much more time to experiment and evolve.